I want to welcome everyone to the webinar, and today's presentation is sponsored by the Good Health Gateway program. The Good Health Gateway offers employers programs and services that encourage employees and their family members to take good care of their health. Our presentation today will cover topics such as the plate method, healthy food swaps, and some common food myths. In addition, we'll provide you with some helpful tips to stay on track this upcoming holiday season. And at the end of the presentation, we'll discuss the Good Health Gateway program and how you can benefit by participating. Before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sara Costa, and I am a Senior Manager of Client Services at the Good Health Gateway. I will be moderating today's webinar. I am joined today by Jeannette Nessett, a registered dietitian and nutritionist. Her nutrition expertise includes serving clientele of all ages and working with multicultural populations. She has experience in food service management, community and clinical nutrition, individual assessments and counseling, and group planning and education. I also want to point out that if you have questions throughout today's presentation, please feel free to enter them in the questions section of the GoToWebinar platform. All of your questions are anonymous, and if time allows, at the conclusion of the webinar, we will address a few of the questions that come in throughout the presentation. However, I do want to point out that if we're running short on time, we will respond to all of your questions individually after the presentation. Throughout the webinar, we will also be opening polls for the audience to take part in. You can answer these questions by using your computer, and please note that participation in each poll is voluntary and your answers are completely anonymous. Lastly, I want to point out again that we will be posting a copy of the presentation to the Good Health Gateway YouTube channel, and we'll send out a link to everyone following the presentation if you would like to view it again. So at this point, I am going to hand the presentation over to Jeannette, who is going to give us some information about the food pyramid versus the plate method. Jeannette?
Thank you, Sarah. Some of you may remember a few years ago when the 5 food groups were displayed in a pyramid format. The problem with the pyramid as an educational tool was that it wasn't very helpful in letting you know how much of each food group should be on your plate. The good news is that it has changed, and now we have the plate method to explain the food groups, and they are shown on an actual plate. If you'd like to look up more information on the plate, you can go, for the diabetic plate, you can go to the American Diabetes Association at diabetes.org, or for others, you can go to choosemyplate.gov.
All right, so at this point, we're going to open up our first poll question for the audience to take part in. So you should see that coming up now, and you'll be able to answer the questions based on what you think the appropriate response is. So the first poll question is, how should the food groups be portioned on your plate? Would it be half meat, a quarter starch, and a quarter veggies? Half fruits and veggies with a quarter meat and a quarter starch? Or a quarter meat, half starch, and half fruits? So it looks like 97% of you are saying half fruits and veggies with a quarter meat and a quarter starch, which is actually the correct response, and Jeannette will tell us why that is on our next slide.
So the plate method uses a 9-inch dinner plate to showcase the food groups. This is important to keep in mind when you're preparing your plate for a meal. Here you can see that 1/2 of the plate is covered with fruits and vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. A little more than the plate, 1/4 is for grain foods and starchy vegetables, and a little less than 1/4 of the plate is for protein foods. Between the fruits and vegetables and the grain group, there is a lot of fiber on the plate. Fiber can help slow down absorption of carbohydrates and sugar and help reduce appetite and food intake. It also helps improve blood sugar levels. In the grain group, you should opt for high fiber choices most of the time. Although you might not choose whole grains all of the time, at least 1/2 of your grain choices every day should be a whole grain choice. Whole grains contain all 3 parts of the grain kernel, the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. Whole grains are healthier and provide more protein, more fiber, and many more important vitamins and minerals than refined or processed grains. Some examples include oatmeal, farro, quinoa, brown rice, barley, and popcorn. Let's just take a minute to look at a food label because sometimes you may make your decisions based on what you see on a food label. First of all, we should start with the serving size. Look here for both the serving size, which is the amount people typically eat at one time, and the number of servings in the package. You should compare your portion size, which is the amount you actually eat, to the serving size listed on the panel. If the serving size is 1 cup and you eat 2 cups, you're getting twice the calories, fat, and other nutrients listed on the label. Check out the total calories. Find out how many calories are in a single serving. It's smart to cut back on calories if you're watching your weight. You may see some things such as nutrition terms on the label, such as low calorie, which would mean something is 40 calories or less per serving, such as in drinks and snacks. If you see on a label that it says calorie-free, fat-free, or sugar-free, that means that it's less than 1/2 gram of fat or sugar per serving, such as in pudding or Jell-O. If you're watching your blood pressure as well, anything that's labeled low sodium would have 140 milligrams or less of sodium per serving. You may see this on crackers, chips, or canned goods. Choose foods that are low in saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium to help you reduce your risk for chronic disease. Saturated fat and trans fats are linked to an increased risk of heart disease. Eating too much added sugar makes it difficult to meet nutrient needs within your calorie requirement. So if we look at the labels on the right on the slide, you'll see some boxes of crackers. And notice that those crackers that have many more ingredients than the Triscuits, which are on the end with only 4 or 5 ingredients, have much more in the way of sodium, and sometimes they're higher in preservatives and things such as that. So always look for products that have the least amount of ingredients on the label if you're buying packaged ingredients. During the holidays or any time you're faced with a variety of foods that you don't eat on a regular basis, you may need some guidance to help you decide what choices would be best. Let's talk about some healthy food swaps. For proteins, choose those that are baked, grilled, broiled, or poached. Avoid fried choices as they increase calories and fat content in your diet. When you choose vegetables, have them grilled, roasted, or steamed. With seasonings is okay, but avoid buttery sauces. If you're having soup, opt for broth-based varieties instead of cream-based soups, which are higher in fat. When you have a salad, ask for the dressing on the side so you can control how much you put on the salad, again to control fat. When it comes to desserts, pie is a favorite at the holidays. Opt for apple, blueberry, or pumpkin pie, which will be lower in sugar than something like a pecan pie or cheesecake. And most importantly, choose the homemade foods over the store-bought, more processed foods that tend to be higher in sugar, fat, and refined carbohydrates.
Thanks, Jeannette. So at this point, we are going to open up our second poll question for our participants today. So the question is, which of the following is a common food myth? So is it those with diabetes cannot eat fruit? Those with diabetes can give in to food cravings? Or those with diabetes can eat carbs in small amounts? So which of these is a common food myth? So we're going to close out the poll here and see what our responses are. So it looks like 88% of you selected those with diabetes cannot eat fruit. That is the correct response. Good job. And Jeanette's going to speak a little bit to that here on this next slide.
Let's talk about some of the food myths. When it comes to food and nutrition, there's no shortage of myths regarding healthy eating. First of all, the fact that you must eat different foods from the rest of the family couldn't be further from the truth. Obviously, you want to make healthy choices. However, if faced with foods that aren't part of your healthy eating plan, opt for smaller portions of the questionable foods and put more vegetables, salad, and leaner proteins on your plate. Fats found in margarine, oils, and salad dressings have little immediate effect on blood glucose levels. However, eating a fatty meal can slow down digestion and make it harder for your insulin to work, causing a possible high blood glucose level hours after your meal. Fruit should not actually be avoided. The good news is that fruit is healthy for people to eat with diabetes. People with diabetes should eat a balanced diet that provides enough energy and helps to maintain a healthy weight. Some fruits are higher in sugar, such as mangoes or watermelon, but can be part of a healthy diet in moderate amounts. And the biggest myth of all is that carbs are the enemy. Carbohydrates don't have to be the enemy as long as you make the right choices. This is where high fiber choices are important, as we previously discussed. Better choices would include whole grains in their unprocessed form, as would be barley, farro, quinoa, etc. And one serving would be about 1/2 cup cooked of cereal or pasta or grain, or about 1/3 cup of rice. Whole grain cereals should contain at least 5 to 8 grams of fiber per serving and no more than 8 grams of sugar per serving. A bread is considered high fiber if it has a minimum of 3 to 5 grams of fiber per slice, which is 1 serving, or 1/2 of a bun or an English muffin or a pita, or for starchy vegetables, about 1/2 cup cooked. Fruits are also complex or high fiber choices in the carbohydrate group. A portion would be a 6-inch banana, about 15 grapes, and an apple, pear, or orange that is about the size of a tennis ball. Skip the simple carbohydrates that are highly processed, high in sugar, and made with white flour. Let's talk about some strategies to help you through the holidays or any special events. Survey all of your options before creating your plate. Outsmart the buffet and/or the meal being served. You can use the plate method as your guide to make better choices. Start by filling 1/2 of your plate with non-starchy vegetables and look for those foods or special dishes that you only get during the holidays and have smaller portions of them. Choose lean proteins without gravies or sauces. For fruits and vegetables, choose options that don't have sauces, butters, or gravies. Look for those that look closest to their natural state, such as how they would look in nature before being cooked. Offer to bring a dish. That way you'll be sure to have something that you can eat and stay on track. Holiday meals tend to be heavy on carbohydrate foods, such as sweet potatoes, pasta, stuffed, mashed, and desserts. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy some of them, but it really means you have to watch your portion sizes. Approximately 1/2 cup is 1 carbohydrate serving. Try to fill most of your plate with non- or low-carbohydrate foods like lean turkey and non-starchy vegetables, and try to limit carbohydrates to 2 to 3 servings per meal. Share a dessert or have just a taste to satisfy your sweet tooth. When it comes to beverages, pick calorie or sugar-free drinks like plain or infused water or sparkling water. For a little more flavor, add a splash of juice or frozen fruit. When it comes to alcohol, no one knows whether drinking any amount of alcohol is actually good for us. However, we do know that too much alcohol is absolutely harmful, and alcohol can be dehydrating. It's important to stay hydrated for good blood glucose control. If you or a member of your family has issues using alcohol, it's best to just avoid it. Finally, if you really aren't enjoying what you've chosen, don't eat it. Save your calories for the foods that you do enjoy.
Thanks, Jeannette. So at this point, we're going to open up our third poll question for our audience today. So the question is, what are some ways to control portion size? So the response options are sharing a meal, being aware of the calorie content in foods, make a healthier version of your favorite foods, or all of the above. So we'll give folks another second to finish responding, and then we'll share our results. All right, so let's see what we have here. So 90% of you selected all of the above, which is the correct response to this answer. And Jeannette will tell us a little bit more about why this is the correct response on our next slide.
So how do you prepare for a big meal? First of all, don't skip meals in anticipation of an event or a holiday meal. Eat a smaller meal or snack about 2 to 4 hours in advance to maintain good blood sugar levels and to take the edge off of your appetite. Track what you eat to keep things under control. Write down what you're eating to acknowledge your diet throughout the day. Eat slowly. You'll enjoy your food more and give your brain a chance to recognize when you're full. It takes 20 minutes for that message to get from your stomach to your brain. And more importantly, enjoy the company you're celebrating with. Keep exercise a part of your daily routine, even during the holidays. It's good for stress management as well as blood sugar control. Try to get up and move in between courses. Most importantly, if you're not sure about how to plan for the big event, talk with your doctor or diabetes educator in advance. Remember to test your blood sugar levels and take your medication. There are diabetes educators available to you through the Good Health Gateway. Don't be afraid to reach out if you need help. Now I'll turn the program back over to Sara.
Thank you, Jeannette. So before I dive into a little bit about the Good Health Gateway program, I just want to remind everyone that if you do have questions about any of the information that Jeannette presented to us, feel free to submit them through the GoToWebinar platform, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the presentation. But now I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the Good Health Gateway program and how you can benefit from participating. So what is the Good Health Gateway program, and why did we do this webinar? The Good Health Gateway program is a diabetes management program that rewards you for taking care of your diabetes and connecting with your provider. Throughout the year, we present different webinars to bring our members information that will help to improve their health, prevent complications, and close gaps in care. Depending on your employer, each program is a little different, but to receive the rewards from the program, members complete specific activities that align with the American Diabetes Association's standards of care. These activities include an annual fasting blood lipid panel, an annual diabetes foot exam, an annual eye exam, an annual urine protein test. Twice yearly, we ask that you provide us with the A1C. We also provide access to a clinical pharmacist or diabetes nurse educator. And one important thing to note, with the exception of the A1C, which is required twice a year, Any of the activities shown above that have been completed in the last 12 months can be used towards completing your program activities and gaining your rewards. The only requirement shown above that varies by employer is meeting with one of our diabetes nurse educators or clinical pharmacists. However, even if your program does not require this activity, the educators and pharmacists are still available for any questions you may have related to your care. To find out the requirements specific to your employer and your program, please give us a call at our helpline or check out our Good Health Gateway website. One other thing to note is that our program is completely voluntary and confidential. All family members on an employee's health plan are eligible to participate, whether they have diabetes or prediabetes, and we reward you for taking care of your health. So this program is eligible for the employee, the spouse, child dependents, adult dependents, it doesn't matter. As long as you're on the employee's health plan, you'd be eligible to participate in the program. And if you have any questions that are specific to your program or to register, please call our helpline or visit thegoodhealthgateway.com. So our helpline phone number is shown there on the screen. It's 800-643-8028. And there's also the information for our website there as well. So at this point, we are going to answer a few of the questions that came in throughout today's presentation. So it looks like we did have a couple of questions that came in, and so we'll be addressing those now. So one of the most common questions we received is, will I be able to review the presentation after I leave the webinar? And the answer is yes. We will be providing the presentation to everyone after this session. It will be available on the Good Health Gateway YouTube channel. So everyone will be receiving that information following this session today. Let's see. One question that came in, Jeannette, is whether or not it would be beneficial to meal prep.
That's a very good question, and actually I always encourage meal preparation. When you have something on hand that you know is good and healthy for you and your family, it makes it easier to stick to a healthy eating plan. So maybe you can choose an hour or two on a weekend or an evening when you're already preparing meals and plan ahead, get your crock pot or your quick pot out or whatever it might be, and plan a couple of meals that you can just reheat during the week if you have a busy week. If you turn your oven on, don't just cook one thing in it. Try to think of other things you can put in the oven at the same time to take advantage of that. But meal preparation is always a very good choice.
Thanks, Jeannette. So another question we have here, and this is a common theme that we hear over and over again, is I'm too busy and I don't have much time to cook, so how can I stay on track?
Meal prep again helps. And the other thing is just make sure that when you do your grocery shopping that you plan to purchase things that are easy and quick. They don't have to be foods that you just put into a microwave, but they can be ingredients that don't take you but a couple of minutes to put together in a skillet to make a nice meal for your family. And if you use some of the, cook some of your grains up in advance and you have them on hand, it's always easy to just prepare a few things that you can serve on top of those grains. But just make sure you have healthy options available at home.
All right, so I think we have time for just a couple more questions. Another common theme that we hear from a lot of our members is regarding artificial sweeteners. And are artificial sweeteners safe?
Artificial sweeteners is really a personal choice. And I know that for diabetics, sometimes it's the only opportunity for you to have something that's a little bit sweet. They do say that maybe it's not good to use them in large quantities and in too much. But again, do your research and make sure that it's right for you.
Great, thank you. So we do have another question that just came in here regarding eating carrots and how many small baby carrots can be eaten without raising one's blood sugar levels.
Well, for a long time, people thought that carrots were on the starchy vegetable list, and they used to be. But now they're on the non-starchy vegetable list, which is good. So again, a serving would be about a half cup or a cup raw and a half cup cooked. And again, you want to be careful about overdoing it on anything. So just in moderation, I think that that would be fine.
All right, and we'll do one more question here. This is regarding international diets, such as being from an Asian country. Are there resources for these type of menus?
You know, maintaining culture and ethnicity in our eating is very important. And so if you go to the American Diabetes website, you may find some resources there. And do a good search on the web, you may find some as well. But I think the American Diabetes Association is probably the best place to start.
Great. Thank you, Jeannette. All right, so we are just about coming up on the half hour here, so we want to make sure that we're conscious of everyone's time, but we want to thank you all for joining, and we hope that you found the presentation useful. We will be sending around a survey to everyone about the presentation, and keep an eye out for that in your email because we will be raffling off a gift card to HelloFresh for those folks that complete the survey and provide their input on today's webinar. But with that being said, I want to thank you all and wish you a good rest of the day. Thanks, everyone.